So, as I said, we'll talk about partnerships in a new era. Our first presenter is the founder of the travel show 40 Hours. He's also a travel enthusiast and writer. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Willde Ng.
Very short. All right. I'm following what Nori just presented, and that's the reason that I'm here to live my life fully now, today, here in Abu Dhabi. This is my second time in Abu Dhabi, and just because the first time experience was so great, that I always want to come back. And with this opportunity and invitation, I'm so happy that I'm here again, okay? I'm very honored to be here to talk about the two things that I love the most in my working career and my everyday life, which is creativity and travel. What else can be a happier man than me? Every day I can spend hours. If not 24 hours, it would be 20 hours, 18 hours, 19 hours doing just those two things. So first of all, as you have seen from my video, there's a reason that why my hair is white. Because I keep on thinking about different things and how to put them together, okay? Recently, I have done a video clip for quite an important Asia-Pacific aviation ministers gathering in Beijing in January 31st to talk about how we can serve the aviation industry in the world with a better something. And better something means the world. And my slogan is the world is getting smaller. The world is getting smaller, but the sky is getting wider and more profound. Why? Because the technology, because of the heart from the industry and everything is making that traveling being more enjoyable. And I went back to the technology, which is Google, to Google when was the first commercial flight took place in the planet Earth. It was so funny that I was interviewing a pilot, and he has been flying around the world. When was the first time that a commercial flight took place? And he didn't know, right? It was in 1914, January 1st, the first commercial flight with, I don't say passengers, because there's only one passenger. One passenger, the first commercial flying passenger with one pilot, flying from St. Petersburg to Tampa, Florida, and they did not call it an airline or an airplane or aircraft. They call it an airboat because there's no runway, there was only water, right? So they took off from the water and landed on the water. If they dry From St. Petersburg to Tampa, it took about 18 hours. If you took a train, it lasts about 19 hours. By boat, it was 8 hours or 7 hours, but by flying, only took 20 minutes. So this is the meaning of flying. And then nowadays, we're talking about design the planes to fly longer, to fly long haul instead of we have to go through, all airlines have to go through the domestic and then the regional and all that. We fly from ATRTCM, right, from Hong Kong to here. And now, because the technology can really support that kind of flying or traveling. And it's going to change very, very fast. We visit the Airbus, we talk about Boeing, and then China is now creating this commercial airplane business, right? And we were very, very happy to be involved with that presentation, because through that presentation, as what Norrie has said, I learned a lot of things about who is the first passenger, who is the first pilot, and all this. And secondly, as you have seen there, I came up with the idea of being creative about using the old containers. Right? China is the biggest container manufacturer in the world, and they manage and produce a lot of containers. Guess what? They were very successful, and they were also very, very painful. Why painful? Because the old containers, after 10 or 20 years, it becomes a very, very big piece of junk. And that junk is even more expensive to ship it back to China, and there's no way they can throw it into the ocean and the garbage dump. So our idea was to use the old containers to build motels. China is becoming so fast in developing the highway. Could they become motels along the highways? Yes, they can. And it's not just a room with the bed, bureau, shower, and Wi-Fi. In fact, it should be a landmark of that particular remote areas, and that's how I came up with the idea of building the totems with the containers. And hopefully one day, you and I, we can develop the idea even further by being more creative. As you can see, the totem, have the observation tower at the top, and then 2 arms to do exercise. So we have gym and everything. The stomach become restaurants, and 2 legs standing up will be the transportation to go up. All right, my screen is off. And I have prepared. So what I'm saying is, with all these possibilities, we are building relationships, right? We are building relationships with the hotel operators and the container manufacturers to come up with something new. As what I have done a few years ago, I put the Chinese Kung Fu, Wing Chun. Maybe it is not a familiar terms for people to know, together with Hong Kong Airlines to train the air hostess to be not fighting with the passengers, but to be more capable, to be more flexible in serving the passengers. And guess what? I'm not so sure that they have created a lot of demand from the passenger side, but the media coverage was incredible, right? We got interviews from BBC, CNBC, Wall Street Journal, CNN, and the rest of the world, because it is a very, very refreshing combination of the partnership, okay? And recently, because of the culture difference between East and West, and Bennican, our Canadian partners, and us are now joined hands to serve the East and West understanding, right, to form that partnership. And when we look into the partnership thing, I have prepared a little booklet here, okay? And what it will explain is the two Chinese characters of partnership is pronunciated like this, 火伴. This is 火, right? It's a man with fire. Why is it man with fire? Interesting. This is a military terms. In the old days, when soldiers in the army going out to a battlefield, they need to eat. How do they cook? And they divided 10 soldiers to share one fire. Right? With that fire, some people will go out to get the wood. Some people will wash the rice. Some people will kill an animal or something. And then that 10 people grouped together is called 火. And ban is formed with two human beings together. So that becomes something which is practical and which is effective, okay? And I just think that with this kind of understanding, we know how important our industry is to be able to help each other and to cook a good meal and beyond that, all right? So you guys have seen some examples of here, right? With the Kung Fu introduced to tie in with the airlines, with the container to make the highway colorful and interesting, and and culturally we can use East and West to serve our world better. And my duty or my job, I'm 65 years old. 3 years ago, I made up my mind, if I want to do those two most loved things before I go, and I'm not kidding, I'm serious. If I can travel to 13 places a year, and that's what the TV station needs us to do, not 12, not 14, but 13 episodes. Then in 10 years' time, I can go to 130 places. I will close my eyes 5 minutes before I leave here to be happy to say, I have lived my life fully. So partnership is the only way that we can enjoy this world better. As far as our logo goes, it's called 40 hours. 40 hours, it's not H-O-U-R-S, it's O-U-R-S. Why? Because we believe we only have one world, and this world is all of ours, right? And as long as I still breathing, I will be very, very dedicated into using my head, my brain, my soul to really bring things together and make the world even more enjoyable and beautiful. So this is pretty much my presentation, right? Using the creativity to make travel fun. Thank you.
Thank you, Willde. Oh, I love this story about the fire. It's something I should take with me. So our next presenter, he's the Chief Commercial Officer for Orbital Systems. Orbital Systems uses space technology to purify and recycle water. So what does that have to do with travel and tourism? Well, I'll let him explain. So without further ado, a big round of applause for Simon.
Thank you. And thanks for having me. I will present a partnership between a space technology and how that fits into a pop-up hotel concept, which also includes containers, and how that enables travelers to go to off-grid accommodation in a sustainable accommodation and not compromising on any luxury. And also the way our partnership is put together enables not only the traveler to receive this as a service, but also the landowners and operators to have a full package as a service, which we'll get a little more into when we get to that detail. So those are the Pastels. So my clock is ticking. It's not ticking. I want to start by presenting a short video of Pastel, and then present you with orbital systems, since they're two very separate technologies, and how they actually accommodate and complement each other as a united product. How do I get to the next slide here? Oh, there you go.
What if buildings could simply pop up where you needed them? What if a city was never more than a month away from solving a housing crisis? What if a vacant lot could be turned into a designer hotel overnight? What if you could suddenly live where no one have ever lived before? Pastel Pop-Up is a new design system that allows people to realize big ideas in a matter of months. Designer houses, stylish condos, and luxury suites can literally pop up without delays, bureaucracy, and red tape.
Little boxes on the hillside.
They are made to keep up with the pace of a city, to solve problems and seize opportunities, and to integrate the latest in technology and arts. It's buildings that won't be old before they're built. Buildings that don't have to stay when they are passé. Pastel pop-ups are democratic and responsible. They are designed to make the exceptional affordable to more of us, and sustainable for all of us. It's suites for the people. The pop-up movement will be introduced to the world as a chain of designer suites available for rent through Airbnb. Everyone with a taste for adventure will have an opportunity to pop up somewhere completely new. And anyone who owns a piece of land can become a luxury hotel owner overnight. It's a new approach to architecture, but who knows? It might lead to a new culture of living, a pop-up culture. Because with Pastel pop-ups, anywhere can happen.
So that's pretty impressive. You put out, a designed container and with a luxury suite of a hotel. And in order to actually enable that, you need the technology and you need the infrastructure to have the water and have access to water and energy to fulfill the modern travelers' needs of not compromising on comfort and actually being able to stay out there longer with have access to water and so forth. And that's where Orbital Systems, which is a completely different technology platform based on space science. And I will present that to you as the next one, and then we'll wrap it up and show how those two complement each other. You see here Mered Majubi, the founder of Orbital Systems, was on a project between NASA and Lund Technical University. And NASA has their Mars mission to bring people to Mars, and more importantly, bring them back alive. And a Mars mission would take 3 years. And you can't bring infinite water to space, so you had to bring a limited amount of water and purify it and reuse it in real time. He managed to to do that. And a funny little story is he would bring this back to his professor, or previous professor at the university, and he wanted to publish this. And the professor said, wait a minute, we'll publish it, but go get the IP. Go get the rights to do this. And then that's how this company actually evolved out of a science project that then became real. And the first step would be to put this technology into showers, mostly because it's the most easy water flow. It's a linear water flow. It's been traveling from a water plant somewhere, and it goes through pipes, and then it has such a long journey, and then you waste it for 1 second. It hits you, and then it goes right back. So it's a linear waste of water, and it's easy to predict. So you put it in there, and you start studying, reading it. We basically read the water 20 times per second to select what water goes to waste and what water can go in and be purified and recycled and reused in real time. So, and just some background, only 1% of all water is accessible to us. Everything else is salt water, and that 1%, well, there's 3%. 2 of them are encapsulated in ice, and we want to keep it there. But that 1% that's left, about 11% of that, so 0.1%, is water that we use with what we call domestic water. The rest is agriculture and industrial water. So it's a scarcity we all know about. Some regions of the world are more fragile than others. So this not only is not only relevant for off-grid adventure travel, but it's a bigger problem that we're trying to solve. So if you look at how we're solving the problem currently, and you have a regular shower, you have a shower head, and then it basically just runs out. In this technology, there is a sensor before the water runs out, and then you basically recycle and reuse the water. And then a lot of other components to that, which I can maybe just reiterate here. But with the technology, we save 90% of the water. We will still waste water because between each session, we won't use, so if I go in and after my friend has been in the shower, I'll go in and I'll take a shower after that, I won't use the same person's water. So we'll dump the water, and there will be different kinds of purification between sessions to have that. So we can't have 100%. You can do 100% in space, but you don't do that here. For the energy, the energy used to heat water, normally you heat water from, not in this region, but you heat water in Scandinavia from 5 degrees to 60 degrees. And those are hygienic reasons for how you increase it to 60 degrees, and then you mix it with cold water. And that delta is on 55 degrees. You need to heat every little bucket of water. In this section, or in this technology, the water you use is hot water that comes down and only drops about 3 degrees Celsius. So you only have to reheat 3 degrees instead of 55 degrees. That's why we say we save up to 80% of the energy. And then because it's in a closed loop, you can create a much better experience with the water. You can create a higher water flow. And so some of the other alternative solutions you have out there is you have water restrainers. So basically, you have a worse shower experience that you would normally have, and you would have, a worse shower experience. So that's enough about the water, but I think what's interesting here is how does this basically become prefabricated into hotel suite pub-ups, and why is that a perfect fit? So for the adventure traveler, you don't want to compromise. You still want to go out in nature, you want to have that nature experience, but at the same time, you want to go home and you want to sit in a comfortable suite with the water and get all the comfortability you're used to when you're on grid. So that's clearly one of the benefits of how orbital system is delivering to Poshtel's promise. Why is it an interesting partnership the other way around? When you look at this technology, we wouldn't start thinking about adventure travel as the first segment. In this segment, we would probably look at large hotel chains because they waste much more water. And conceptually, you'd say, okay, we want to go to the large hotel chains because they waste a lot of water every day. But the first adopters are those who are more conscious about sustainability. And that's a perfect fit to adventure travel and to this kind of partnerships. And then I think to every partnership and to every sustainability, the way we live and work also has to have financial sustainability. Otherwise, it becomes philanthropic. And there's nothing wrong with being philanthropic. It just doesn't last as long. So with a new technology that is expensive, we could choose to sell a very expensive shower. We don't do that. We have transformed this into a service. So like you have with the solar energy and solar panels, you pay it over time as a service, and you get the water, and you get the data about the water, and you get all the benefits from that on a contract that is over time. That's matching Poshtel's model, where you don't go out as a landowner or an operator and pay for big development, but you basically share the profits with Poshtel, so you get into an operating interest immediately. And you can much easier, much faster scale this partnership into many places, many locations at the same time and get into volume. So that's my contribution.